She was just a hungry girl asking a single dad for his leftovers outside an Italian restaurant. But when Isaac Smith stopped and really looked at her, he saw something that would shatter everything he thought he knew about coincidence, kindness, and the family he was meant to have. Before we continue, please tell us, where in the world are you tuning in from? We love seeing how far our stories travel. The takeout bags were still warm against Isaac's chest as he fumbled for his car keys, the scent of Giuseppe's chicken piccata making his stomach growl. That's when he saw her, sitting on the bench like she'd been waiting for this exact moment, her eyes tracking his movement with a hunger that went deeper than food. "Excuse me, sir?" The voice was so quiet he almost missed it. The young woman had stood up from the bench, taking a hesitant step toward him. Her clothes were clean but worn. "I'm sorry to bother you, but if you have any leftovers you don't want, I'd be grateful for them." Isaac stopped mid-step. The parking lot suddenly felt smaller, the space between them charged with something he couldn't name. Her voice was steady, but her hands were trembling slightly. "I'm not leftovers. This is dinner I just picked up." The flush that spread across her cheeks was immediate and devastating. "Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought... Never mind. Have a good evening." She turned away so quickly that her ponytail whipped around, and he saw it then, the practiced motion of someone used to rejection, used to walking away before the no could fully land. "Wait." The word shot out of him like a reflex. 20 years collapsed in an instant, and suddenly he was 18 again, standing outside a diner in the rain, counting change in his palm, wondering if 67 cents could buy him enough time in a warm booth to figure out where he'd sleep that night. Amber stopped, but didn't turn around immediately. Her shoulders were rigid, braced for whatever came next. "Have you eaten today?" When she finally turned, her eyes were bright with unshed tears. "Coffee this morning. I get paid Friday." They hit him like a physical blow because he knew exactly what they meant. He knew the math she'd done in her head, the careful calculation of how many hours until that paycheck, how many meals she could skip and still function. Isaac's phone buzzed. A text from Hannah. "Dad, I'm at Sophia's house. Her mom says I can stay for dinner if it's okay. Please?" He stared at the message, then at Amber, who was already stepping backward, already retreating into whatever shadow she'd emerged from. "My daughter just canceled on me," he heard himself say. "Would you like to have dinner? There's a picnic table over there under the awning." "I couldn't... Please." The memory of Robert's voice echoed in his head, gruff and kind. "Sometimes accepting help is the bravest thing you can do, kid." Isaac softened his tone. "I hate eating alone." For a moment, they just looked at each other. Two strangers in a parking lot, one holding warm food, the other holding her breath. "Okay," Amber whispered. The picnic table was still damp from the earlier rain, but Isaac had napkins in the bag. He spread them out like a makeshift tablecloth, while Amber watched, her movements careful and contained, like she was afraid of taking up too much space. When he opened the containers, steam rose between them, and Amber's eyes closed briefly. The look on her face, Isaac had to look away. It was too private, too raw, that moment of anticipation. "Please," he said, pushing a container toward her. "Eat." She picked up the plastic fork with the kind of reverence usually reserved for fine china. The first bite, she chewed slowly, deliberately, like she was memorizing it. "Thank you," she said after swallowing. I haven't had anything this good in months." "Giuseppe's is pretty great," Isaac said, trying to keep it light, but his throat felt tight. "Tuesday's their family special night." "Family special," she repeated softly, and something in her voice made him really look at her. 23, maybe 24, blonde hair that had been carefully maintained despite everything else. She tried so hard to hold on to dignity, and somehow that made it worse. "I'm Isaac," he said. "Amber," she managed a small smile. "How long have you been working at Morrison's?" 2 months. It's just part-time, but they're good about giving me as many hours as they can." She took another careful bite. "I'm on the wait list for full-time." The way she said it, like full-time was a golden ticket, a dream just out of reach. Isaac remembered that desperation. That feeling of running in place while the world moved past you. You from Charlotte? He asked. No, I moved here about 8 months ago, from a smaller town. You wouldn't know it. She paused, seemed to weigh her next words. Fresh start, you know? He did know. He knew exactly what kind of fresh starts required moving to a city where no one knew your name or your story. The rain caught you out here? He asked, noting her still damp dress. My car's over there. She gestured vaguely toward the back of the parking lot. The heater doesn't work, so I was just waiting for it to stop. Something in the way she said it. My car. Not, my car broke down. Not, I'm waiting for a ride. Just, my car. Isaac's chest tightened. Amber, where are you staying?
Her fork stilled. For a moment, he thought she wouldn't answer. Then, so quietly, he almost missed it. My car. For 2 weeks now. The words hung between them like a confession in church. Isaac set down his fork, his appetite gone. What happened? And maybe it was the food, or the kindness, or just the exhaustion of keeping up appearances, but Amber's story spilled out in pieces between bites. My roommate left, just gone one day. No warning. Rent was due, and I couldn't cover the whole thing. Landlord gave me 3 days. She laughed, but it was brittle. You'd be amazed how fast 3 days goes when you're trying to find a miracle. Family? Asked Isaac gently. Foster care since I was 10. She said it matter-of-factly, like stating her hair color. Aged out 5 years ago. The words hit him like a slap. Foster care. Aged out. The vocabulary of a system that chewed kids up and spit them out at 18 with a garbage bag of belongings and a good luck pat on the back. I aged out, too, Isaac said quietly. 20 years ago. Amber's head snapped up, her eyes wide. You did? 18 years old, everything I owned in a trash bag, sleeping in my car until the transmission died. The memories rushed back, uninvited but insistent. I used to sit outside restaurants just like this, doing the math on how long I could make $5 last. How did you? She gestured vaguely at him, at his clean clothes and recent model car. Someone helped me. An older man named Robert. He saw me one day, really saw me, and offered me work and a room above his garage. Isaac's voice caught. He saved my life. Amber was quiet for a moment. You were lucky. I was. And Robert made me promise something before he died.
What? To pass it on. To look for someone who needed the same chance he gave me. The words landed heavy between them. Amber's eyes widened as understanding dawned. Isaac, I'm not asking for... I know you're not. He pulled out his phone, showed her a photo of a smiling 12-year-old with braces. This is Hannah, my daughter. Her mom passed 4 years ago. I'm so sorry. It's been hard, especially lately. Hannah's getting older, needs things I don't always know how to give her. Female stuff, emotional stuff. He took a breath. I have a spare room. Used to be my office. It has its own bathroom. Amber stared at him. I can't pay much, but I need help. Someone to be there when Hannah gets home from school. Help with homework, maybe start dinner when I'm running late. In exchange, room and board while you save money and get on your feet. You don't even know me. I know you're working every shift they'll give you at minimum wage. I know you're sleeping in your car but still showing up to work even when tired. I know you asked for help with dignity intact. And I know what it's like to have nobody and nothing except the will to keep going. Amber's hands were shaking now. What if your daughter doesn't like me? We'll figure it out. But Amber, you can't keep sleeping in your car. It's not safe, and the nights are still cold. Why? The word came out broken. Why would you do this? Isaac thought of Robert. That first night in the room above the garage, how he'd sat on the narrow bed and cried for an hour because someone had finally seen him as human. Because 20 years ago, someone did it for me. And because he hesitated, then pushed forward, because I think maybe we showed up in each other's lives at exactly the right moment. Amber was crying now, really crying, trying to wipe her tears with the rough napkins. I don't know what to say. Say you'll think about it. Take my card. Call me tomorrow. He pulled out a worn business card. And regardless of what you decide, I'm going to help fix your car. I do maintenance work. I can replace whatever's wrong. Isaac! He met her a compassionate gaze across the dining room table. No one should have to choose between gas and food, Amber. No one. 3 days later, Isaac was under the hood of Amber's 15-year-old Honda, replacing the alternator he'd bought with his own money. Amber stood nearby, holding tools when he asked, trying not to cry again. "Almost done," he said, his voice muffled. "This should last you another few years at least." "Isaac, about your offer." He emerged from under the hood, wiping his hands on a rag. "Yeah? Are you sure? I mean, really sure? I'm a stranger. And Hannah? I had you run a background check. For Hannah's safety, I had to be careful. You passed. The question is, do you want to do this?" "I've been living in my car for 2 weeks," Amber said with a shaky laugh. "Of course I want to. I don't want to mess up your life." "My life's already messy," Isaac said. "Maybe a different kind of mess is what we need." When they pulled up to Isaac's house, a modest 2 stories in a quiet neighborhood, Hannah was waiting at the window. Isaac could see her peering through the curtains, curious and suspicious in equal measure. "She knows?" Amber asked nervously. "I told her someone would be helping out around the house, living in the spare room. She's processing." They walked to the door, Amber carrying her 2 suitcases, everything she owned in the world. Isaac's heart clenched at how light they seemed. Hannah opened the door before they could knock. "You're Amber." "I am." "You must be Hannah." They stared at each other for a moment, the grieving 12-year-old and the homeless 23-year-old, both sizing up what this change would mean. "Dad says you're going to help out around here?" "That's the plan," Amber said carefully, "if that's okay with you." Hannah shrugged with practiced preteen indifference, but her eyes were sharp, watchful. "The spare room's down the hall. It's small." "I'm sure it's perfect." The room was small, barely bigger than some of the foster home bedrooms Amber had known. But it had a window that looked out onto the backyard, a closet, and an attached bathroom with a shower that actually had hot water. "This is..." Amber set down her suitcases, touched the wall like she was making sure it was real. "This is wonderful." Hannah lingered in the doorway. "Dad put clean sheets on the bed. The dresser's empty. Wi-Fi passwords on the desk." "Thank you. He doesn't usually do stuff like this. Bring strangers home. I mean, he must think you're special or something." Before Amber could respond, Hannah was gone, her footsteps quick on the stairs. The first week was awkward. Amber tiptoed around the house like a ghost, trying not to disturb anything. Hannah watched her constantly, suspicious of this stranger who'd appeared in their life. Isaac worked late most nights, whether from necessity or to avoid the uncomfortable adjustment period. Amber couldn't tell. She established a routine quickly. Up at 5:30 to get ready before anyone else needed the bathroom. Coffee made by 6 a.m. She learned Isaac liked it strong with just a splash of milk. Quiet breakfast at the kitchen table, scrolling through job listings on her phone. During the day, while Hannah was at school and Isaac at work, she went to her job at Morrison's. 4-hour shifts that barely covered her gas and the groceries she insisted on contributing, despite Isaac's protests. Afternoons were for Hannah. The first few days, the girl barely acknowledged her, heading straight to her room after school. But on Thursday, Amber heard frustrated sounds from behind Hannah's door, the distinctive sound of a textbook being slammed shut. She knocked gently. "Everything okay?" "Fine," came the muffled response. Amber hesitated, then tried again. "If you need help with homework..." The door flew open. Hannah's eyes were red-rimmed with frustration. "Do you know anything about pre-algebra?" "Actually, yeah, I do." And that's how Isaac found them an hour later when he came home, sitting at the kitchen table, Amber patiently explaining equations while Hannah
actually smiled. "Dad," Hannah called out, "Amber's a math genius. She made it make sense." Isaac stood in the doorway, takeout bags in hand, not from Giuseppe's, he couldn't quite go back there yet, watching them. Something in his chest loosened, a knot he hadn't realized was there. "Not a genius," Amber protested, "just had a lot of practice. When you're in foster care, you learn to teach yourself everything." "Well, you're better than Dad," Hannah said. "He still counts on his fingers sometimes." "Hey," Isaac protested, but he was smiling. That became their new routine. Homework at the kitchen table, Amber patient with Hannah's frustration, Hannah slowly opening up about more than just math. 2 weeks in, Amber discovered the kitchen was barely functional. Oh, it worked, but Isaac and Hannah had been living on takeout and frozen dinners for so long they'd forgotten what the stove was for. "Can I cook dinner tonight?" asked Isaac one morning over coffee. "To contribute more, I mean." "You don't have to." "I want to. Please, it's the least I can do." That evening, the house filled with smells it hadn't known in years. Amber had taken $10, all she could spare, and worked magic. Ground beef, pasta, vegetables on sale, and suddenly there was a feast on the table.
Hannah came downstairs, drawn by the smell. "What is that?" "Just spaghetti with meat sauce," Amber said, suddenly self-conscious. "Nothing fancy." "It smells like—" Hannah paused, her voice small. "Like when Mom used to cook." The kitchen went quiet. Amber froze, wooden spoon in hand, afraid she'd crossed some invisible line. But Isaac spoke up, his voice gentle. "Catherine was a great cook. She'd have loved that you're using her kitchen." That night, they ate together at the dining room table for the first time since Amber had arrived. Real plates, not takeout containers. Conversation instead of the TV filling the silence. "Where'd you learn to cook?" Hannah asked, then caught her father's warning look. "Sorry, you don't have to—" "It's okay. 7 homes in 8 years. Some for a few months, one for almost 2 years." Amber twirled her spaghetti thoughtfully. "You learn to adapt quick." "That sucks," Hannah said bluntly. "Hannah," Isaac warned. "No, she's right. It did suck, but it also taught me things. How to read people, how to be useful, how to not take anything for granted." "Is that why you work so hard?" Hannah asked. Amber considered this. "Maybe. When you've had nothing, everything feels like it could disappear any second. So you hold on tight, work harder, try to prove you deserve to stay." Isaac's fork stilled. He knew that feeling, that constant fear that someone would realize you didn't belong and send you back to nothing. "You don't have to prove anything here," he said quietly. Amber met his eyes across the table, and something passed between them, an understanding that went deeper than words.
The weeks turned into months. Spring arrived properly, and with it a rhythm that felt almost like family. Amber picked Hannah up from school when Isaac had to work late. They did homework together, cooked dinner together, and slowly, carefully, became friends. Hannah started confiding in her, about the mean girls at school, about missing her mom, about the boy in science class who made her stomach feel funny. "Dad doesn't get it," Hannah said one afternoon, painting Amber's nails a vivid purple. "He tries, but talking to him about girl stuff is like weird. He loves you, though, so much." "I know, but it's different with you. You actually listen without getting all weird and dad-like." "Dad-like?" "You know, immediately wanting to fix everything, or ban me from leaving the house, or challenge someone to a duel." Amber laughed. "He wouldn't actually challenge someone to a duel. You didn't see him at parent-teacher conferences when Mr. Harrison said I was chatty. Dad gave him a look that could have melted steel." They giggled together, and Amber felt something she'd never experienced, the warmth of being needed, of belonging somewhere. Isaac noticed the changes. Hannah laughed more. She came out of her room voluntarily. She'd stopped the angry outbursts that had become common since Catherine's death. And Amber was everywhere. Her coffee mug next to his in the morning, her jacket on the hook by the door, her laugh filling spaces that had been silent too long. She'd gotten a second job at a bookstore, was saving money, but somehow the conversation about finding her own place never came up. 6 months after that night in the parking lot, Isaac came home to find Amber and Hannah in the kitchen, music playing, both of them covered in flour. "We're making cookies," Hannah announced. "From scratch." "I can see that," Isaac said.
surveying the disaster zone that used to be his kitchen. Amber found Mom's recipe box, and Hannah's breath caught. Is that okay? We wanted to try her famous chocolate chip cookies.
Isaac looked at Catherine's handwriting on the recipe card in Hannah's hand and waited for the pain. It came, but softer than expected, dulled by the joy on his daughter's face. That's perfect, he said. Amber caught his eye, mouthed, sorry, over Hannah's head, but he shook his head. This was good. This was healing. Later that night, after Hannah had gone to bed and they were cleaning up the kitchen, Isaac said, Thank you. For destroying your kitchen? For bringing life back to it. I paused, gathering courage. For bringing life back to us. Amber's hands stilled in the soapy water. Isaac, I know there's an age difference. I know this is complicated. But Amber, you've become... Dad, Hannah's voice from the stairs interrupted them. Can Amber braid my hair for picture day tomorrow? Of course, Amber called back, and the moment was broken. But something had shifted. They were more aware of each other now. The casual touches, his hand on her back as he reached for a mug, her fingers brushing his as she passed him the mail, carried electricity.
Hannah, 12 going on 30, noticed everything. You know she likes you, right? She said one evening when Amber was at her bookstore job. Isaac looked up from the bills he was paying. What? Amber, she likes you. Likes you. Hannah, that's not... She's just... Dad, I'm 12, not stupid. She looks at you the way you look at her when you think no one's watching. Hannah plopped down next to him. And you smile different when she's around. Like how you used to smile at Mom. Isaac's chest tightened. Hannah, it's complicated. Because she's younger? Because of a lot of things. Mom's been gone 4 years, Dad. Hannah's voice was soft but firm. She wouldn't want you to be alone forever. And Amber, she gets us. She gets her weird, broken family thing. She doesn't try to replace Mom, she fits. When did you get so wise? Amber says I'm an old soul, Hannah grinned. She also says you're being an idiot if you don't see what's right in front of you, but she didn't think I heard that part. Isaac groaned. She said that? On the phone with someone from work. She also said you're worth waiting for, so Hannah shrugged. Just saying. A year after that rainy Tuesday, Amber got the call she'd been waiting for. The dental office where she'd been temping offered her a full-time position, office manager, salary, benefits, the whole package. She told Isaac at dinner, Hannah already in bed. They'd developed this routine, late-night talks over tea, the house quiet around them. That's amazing, Isaac said, but his smile didn't reach his eyes. $35,000 a year, Amber continued. I could actually afford my own place now. The words hung between them like a test. Is that what you want? Isaac asked quietly. Your own place? Amber traced the rim of her mug. Is it what you want? They sat in silence for a moment, years of careful boundaries suddenly paper-thin. No, Isaac said finally. It's not what I want. Then what do you want? Isaac reached across the table, took her hand. Her fingers were warm from the mug, and they trembled slightly in his. I want to wake up knowing you're here. I want to come home to you and Hannah laughing in the kitchen. I want to stop pretending that you're just helping out when you've become everything. His voice cracked. I want to stop being afraid that 15 years age difference means I can't love you. Amber's eyes filled with tears. Isaac, I know I'm older. I know I come with baggage, a teenager, a mortgage, grief that still catches me sometimes. I'm not rich, probably never will be. But Amber, somewhere between you helping Hannah with homework and teaching her to cook and dancing in my kitchen while dinner burned, I fell completely in love with you. The dinner only burned once, Amber said through her tears. Is that really what you're focusing on right now? She laughed, wet and shaky. I fell in love with both of you the day Hannah taught me Catherine's secret pancake recipe. She said Catherine would have wanted me to know it, that I was family now. And I realized I'd never had that before. Family, real family, not assigned by the state, but chosen. And, Isaac asked, heart pounding, and I've been terrified to admit that I never want to leave,
that this feels like the home I never had, that somewhere between fixing your broken coffee maker and learning Hannah's favorite songs and waiting for you to come home every night, you became my whole world. The age thing? I've been on my own since I was 10, Isaac. I've been an adult since I was a child. The number doesn't matter to me. What matters is that you see me, really see me, and you still think I'm worth loving. Worth loving? Isaac stood, pulled her to her feet, cupped her face in his hands. Amber, you're worth everything. Their first kiss tasted like tears and tea and coming home. Hannah, who'd definitely not been asleep, appeared in the doorway. Finally! Do you know how exhausting it's been watching you two dance around each other? Hannah? Isaac started, but she waved him off. I'm going back to bed, but just so we're clear, Amber, you're not allowed to move out. Dad, you're not allowed to mess this up, and I want to be maid of honor when you get married. Good night. She flounced back upstairs, leaving them laughing and crying in the kitchen. They were married the following spring in the backyard, under the apple tree that was just beginning to bloom. It was a small ceremony, just a handful of Isaac's co-workers, Amber's manager from the bookstore who'd become a friend, Hannah's best friend's family, and one special guest. Mrs. Kowalski, Robert's widow, sat in the front row, tears streaming down her weathered face. Robert would be so proud, she told Isaac before the ceremony. You kept your promise. You passed it on. Hannah, radiant in her maid of honor dress, gave a speech that had everyone reaching for tissues. Amber came to us asking for leftovers, but she became the missing ingredient we didn't know we needed. She didn't complete our family. She expanded it, made it new, made it whole in a different way. Mom's love didn't leave when she died. It just made room for more love to come in. And Amber brought so much love with her, even when she thought she had nothing to give. She turned to Amber, who was already crying, mascara be damned. You taught me that family isn't about blood or age or conventional anything. It's about choosing each other again and again, especially when it's hard or scary or doesn't make sense to anyone else. Thank you for choosing us. Thank you for staying. 4 years later, when their son was born, Robert Isaac Smith, named for the man who'd saved his father and the father who'd saved his mother, the story had become family legend. Isaac would tell little Robbie about the rainy Tuesday that changed everything, about how sometimes the universe puts you exactly where you need to be, even when that's standing in a parking lot, hungry and afraid. Your mom was so brave, he'd say, Amber listening from the doorway. She asked for help when she needed it most, and that courage changed all our lives. Because you helped her? Robbie would ask, even though he knew the story by heart. Because we helped each other, Isaac would correct. She saved us just as much as we saved her. That's how love works. It multiplies. Someone helped me, I helped your mom, and someday you'll help someone too.
Like when I shared my sandwich with Pete when he forgot his lunch? Exactly like that. Hannah, now 17 and applying to colleges, would add her own version when she babysat her little brother. The thing about our family is that we're proof that the best things come from the scariest moments. Dad was scared to help a stranger, Mom was scared to accept help, I was scared of losing another person. But we did it anyway, and look what we got. We got each other, Robbie would shout, because even at 4, he knew that was the right answer. We got each other, Hannah would agree, thinking of her college essays about resilience and chosen family and the power of a single moment to change everything. Amber had gone back to school, gotten her degree in social work. She specialized in aging out foster youth, running a program that paired them with mentors and provided transitional housing. The spare room that had once been her salvation now regularly housed young people who needed the same chance she'd been given. Isaac would sometimes find her in the kitchen with one of her kids, teaching them to cook or helping with job applications, and his heart would swell with pride and love. "You're passing it on," he'd say. "We're passing it on," she'd correct, because everything in their life was we now. The restaurant, Giuseppe's, had become their anniversary tradition. Every year on that Tuesday in March, they'd go back, order too much food, and sit at the same picnic table where they'd had their first meal. "Do you ever think about if Hannah hadn't canceled that night?" Amber asked, on their 5th anniversary, Robbie asleep in his carrier beside them. "All the time," Isaac admitted. "One text message changed everything." "Or maybe it would have happened anyway," Amber said. "Maybe the universe would have found another way to bring us together. You believe in that? Fate?" "I believe in kindness," Amber said. "I believe that kindness creates ripples we can't even see. Robert was kind to you. You were kind to me. Now we're kind to others. Maybe that's what fate is, just kindness finding its way from one person to another until it comes back around."
Isaac raised his glass of water. They were both driving, in a toast. To kindness, then. To leftovers that were never really leftovers, Amber countered. To family, Hannah added, appearing with Sophia, having gotten permission to join them for dessert. The weird, wonderful, chosen kind. As they clinked glasses, Isaac thought about Robert, about the promise he'd made to pass it on. He'd thought it meant one act of kindness, one person helped. But watching his wife laugh with his daughter, his son sleeping peacefully, the fostered youth who'd become extended family dropping by their table to say hi, he realized the truth. Kindness wasn't a debt you paid once. It was a practice, a way of seeing the world and the people in it. It was choosing to see hunger as need, not nuisance. Choosing to see potential where others saw problems. Choosing love when the math didn't make sense. 15 years age difference, a widower's grief, a foster kid's fears. "What are you thinking about?" Amber asked, catching his distant expression. "Just that I'm glad you asked for leftovers that night. Best decision I ever made. Asking for leftovers? Being brave enough to ask for what I needed, even when I was terrified." The truth of it sat between them, profound and simple. Sometimes the hardest thing in the world was admitting you needed help. Sometimes the bravest thing was accepting it when offered. And sometimes, if you were very lucky, what started as desperation became destination. A home, a family, a love story that proved the best things in life often came from the most unexpected moments. That night, as they tucked Robbie into bed and Hannah finished her homework at the kitchen table, the same table where Amber had first helped her with pre-algebra, Isaac stood in the doorway of what used to be his office, then Amber's room, and was now Robbie's nursery. "No regrets?" Amber asked, wrapping her arms around him from behind. "Only one." She tensed slightly. "What?" "I should have ordered extra breadsticks that night. We ran out too fast." She laughed, burying her face in his back. "I'm being serious." "So am I. Giuseppe's breadsticks are legendary." "Isaac Smith, you are impossible." "And you love me anyway." "I do." And the words carried the weight of their wedding vows, their daily choice, their improbable journey from strangers in a parking lot to this, a family built on kindness, chance, and the courage to ask for leftovers. Outside, the spring rain began to fall, gentle and renewing. Somewhere in Charlotte, someone else was probably sitting in their car, hungry and afraid, wondering how they'd make it to Friday. Isaac thought about the young man who just started at the plant, the one who reminded him of himself at that age, eager but struggling, counting every penny. "I'm thinking about inviting Marcus for dinner this week. The new kid at work. He's been eating ramen for lunch every day." "The spare room's empty," Amber said carefully. "Just saying." "We can't save everyone." "No," Amber agreed, "but we can save someone, and someone is everything to that person." Isaac turned in her arms, looked down at the woman who transformed his life by asking for leftovers in a restaurant. "How did I get so lucky?" "It wasn't luck. It was kindness. Yours and Robert's too. She raised Hannah to be open-hearted enough to accept me. Every act of kindness created the next one, like dominoes falling forward through time." Very philosophical for a Tuesday night. "I have a very smart husband. His wisdom rubs off on me." "I was going to make a joke about what else rubs off on you, but Hannah's still awake and these walls are thin." "Dad, gross," Hannah called from the kitchen. "I can hear you." They laughed, quietly to not wake Robbie and stood there in the doorway of their son's room, in the house that had become a home, in the life they'd built from one moment of desperate courage and unexpected kindness. The rain continued to fall, and Isaac thought about Robert one more time. Robert, who probably never imagined that taking in one angry, scared 18-year-old would someday lead to this expanding circle of love and second chances. But that was the thing about kindness. You never knew where it would lead, how far it would travel, how many lives it would touch. All you could do was pass it on and trust that somehow, somewhere, it would find its way to exactly the right person at exactly the right moment. Just like Amber had found him. Just like they'd found each other. Just like love always finds a way, even when it starts with something as simple as asking for leftovers in a restaurant parking lot on a rainy Tuesday evening. When two broken people discovered they were exactly what the other needed to become whole. If this story reminded you that kindness can change everything, please share it with someone who needs to hear it today. And don't forget to subscribe to Everbell Stories, because every week we prove that the most beautiful endings often come from the hardest beginnings. Remember, sometimes the bravest thing you can do is ask for help, and the most powerful thing you can do is offer it. Thank you for joining us today. Until next time, keep your hearts open. You never know when a simple act of kindness might change someone's entire world, or your own.